Tonight on your News at 9, volunteers set up at Joplin's Ewart Park to help meet the pandemic needs of the local homeless population and anyone else in need of a helping hand. Plus, we are headed to a very special rodeo in Carthage, Missouri that is raising money for a family of a fallen rider. And 4 state farmers celebrate National Seed Swap Day at Joplin's Empire Market by trading seeds and encouraging others to start growing. Meteorologist Nick Kelly has your weather. Sports director Jacob Lettern's on sports. I'm Mike Mahoney, and this is your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. Let's start things off with a weather update, and for that, we'll turn it over to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
It's been a pretty busy Saturday, Mike. We had rain, widespread rain this morning, some severe weather in parts of northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri this afternoon. Despite all of that, though, we went from a low of 47 this morning to highs in the mid-50s. Now we're just gearing up for a cold Sunday ahead of us to wrap up this weekend. But these storms that did materialize in northeast Oklahoma did drop a few quick tornadoes in parts of Nowata County, just on the fringe of our viewing area, while we had a couple other hail reports with those storms as they worked along and south of I-44. We'll take a closer look at what those storms did a little later. Now the bigger storm system overall is starting to lift to the northeast, and on the colder side of things, we're seeing a lot of snow up in the Great Lakes. For us, though, maybe a few showers overnight, tapering off to an area or two of drizzle. Otherwise, we just stay cold and cloudy tomorrow. 35 in the morning. I think the best we could do is highs around 40. Again, we'll break down what these storms did today, how tomorrow's shaping up, and the rest of the week's shaping up. We'll get to all of that here in a bit, Mike.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, as always, Nick Kelly. Officials with the Jasper County Sheriff's Office say a person of interest in the murder of Becky Sanders of Sarcoxie, Missouri, has been found dead. They say the Coleman County Sheriff's Office in Alabama received information about a possible location for Justin Chase Stevens. The information they received indicated Stevens was staying in the garage apartment of a residence in Coleman County. Deputies surrounded the house and attempted to call him out, but after Stevens did not respond to requests to exit, deputies entered the garage and found Stevens dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Earlier today at Ewart Park in Joplin, volunteers set up lunch and free shop for anyone in the community hit hard by the pandemic, especially the homeless population. One volunteer says it started with masks and then it grew based on the community's needs.
Back when COVID hit and there was a shortage of masks for everybody, and Karen started homemaking masks. We went around and got supplies up, got supplies donated, and then distributed the masks. In the process of doing that, we noticed more of a need in the community for other things like clothing and food, and we're just trying to fill that need now.
The volunteers were also giving out free grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, as well as gloves, coats, and other essentials for anyone in need. The Riverside Cowboy Church in Nevada hosted one of 5 rodeos at the Civil War Arena in Carthage this evening. The rodeos are a fundraiser by the church. Each rodeo honors a different person, and tonight's rodeo honored Kaylee Henson, who passed away in a car accident at the age of 18 and was a big horseback rider and member of the church.
Oh, she was an amazing young lady. She was that young lady who always had a smile on her face. She just loved Jesus, and she spent all her time making everybody else feel comfortable, and she just was amazing from the time I met her until she passed away.
The proceeds from tonight's rodeo go to Kaylee's family as well as to the church for a writers camp that they'll host this summer. Many 4-staters may be unaware of a holiday taking place today surrounding farming. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with farmers at Joplin's Empire Market to understand their passion for swapping seeds.
In case you didn't know, today is National Seed Swapping Day. To celebrate, Ozarks Homesteading and Joplin Empire Market teamed up to create a community seed swap.
Sometimes we have too much of one thing, or something isn't working in our garden, or somebody's interested in growing something, and as a farmer I buy large quantities of seed, and so at the end of the season I'll have extras that I just want to share with people.
It's not just for farmers. The general public is welcome to pursue any interest they may have in the seed exchange, which heightened with the pandemic.
There's been a lot of interest in growing our own food. So we've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of interest in that. And again, this is just an opportunity to come in, talk to farmers and master gardeners, swap seed, drop seed off that you may have too much of, and just share that interest in growing our own food.
The main goal of the swap? To make gardening more accessible to everyone.
We just want people to plant gardens.
Cheryl Franklin, who helped organize the swap, says events like this create more transparency between farmers and the public.
People are concerned about pesticides and herbicides and things like that, and so you just can be assured that you're eating healthy foods and you know where it came from.
Not only was this a great networking opportunity for local gardeners, but it also opened new doors for newbies as well. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
And newcomers without seeds to swap were asked to give an optional small donation. It's now time to honor one of our many four-state heroes, and tonight we recognize George Powers of Pittsburgh, Kansas. Powers served as a captain in the U.S. Army and he fought in Vietnam. He earned a Silver Star and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service and your courage. For more information on all our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com. And we'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Plus, we are headed to South Coffeyville, Oklahoma, where some storm chasers caught a glimpse of what appears to be a tornado touchdown. That's coming up right after weather. Well, thanks again, Nick. And hey, Nick, take a look at this video from KOTV in Tulsa taken by one of their storm chasers near South Coffeyville, Oklahoma, around 2 this afternoon. The video shows what appears to be a brief tornado touchdown. As of now, no reports of damage or any information on that tornado's severity. Still to come, as health officials confront new mutated strains of the coronavirus, the CDC is revving up some new rules.
If you're traveling by air or public transit, you'll soon be required by federal law to wear a mask. I'm Charles Watson in Atlanta. Details on that story coming up.
Airlines that have required passengers to wear masks during the pandemic are now getting new support for that policy through a new nationwide federal order issued by the CDC. Fox News' Charles Watson reports.
Starting next week, new rules from the CDC will require all travelers on airlines and public transit to wear face masks to curb the spread of coronavirus. The new order makes refusal to wear a mask a violation of federal law. Children under 2 years old and people with certain disabilities are exempt. It comes as states like Wisconsin debate getting rid of their own statewide mandates.
Wearing a mask, the mask mandate is about public health. It's about saving lives.
Meanwhile, doctors say a new strain of the virus originating in South Africa has been detected in the U.S. for the first time in a patient in South Carolina.
You can be almost certain that as long as there's a lot of virus circulating in the community, there will be the evolution of mutants, because that's what viruses do.
Despite the concern over the new variant, health officials are optimistic the pending arrival of a third vaccine from Johnson & Johnson will help get Americans vaccinated more quickly. Their vaccine only requires one shot. One significant drawback, it's only 66% effective, but doctors say it can still help prevent some of the most severe cases.
Just to give perspective, the annual flu vaccine is only about 40 to 50% effective every year, yet it still saves lives. It still reduces hospitalizations.
Johnson & Johnson says it plans to seek an emergency use authorization from the FDA within the next week. In Atlanta, Charles Watson, Fox News.
One of the major issues surrounding the pandemic continues to be whether students and teachers should be back in the classroom. Fox News' Jonathan Hunt takes a closer look.
The president wants to not only reopen schools, he wants the schools to stay open.
Few parents or teachers argue with that goal for reopening schools, but there is intense disagreement over how it can be achieved. Children may be less susceptible to COVID-19.
The children not only have decreased rates of symptoms, but have decreased rates of transmissibility.
But many teachers worry about returning to the classroom before they are vaccinated. In California, that's left Governor Gavin Newsom frustrated and saying on a call with the Association of California School Administrators, quote, If we wait for the perfect, we might as well just pack it up and just be honest with folks that we're not going to open for in-person instruction this school year. But in a letter to Newsom, the California Teachers Association warned against shortcuts to reopening and said, quote, "The virus is in charge right now and it does not own a calendar. We cannot just pick an artificial calendar date and expect to flip a switch on reopening every school for in-person instruction." Teachers in Massachusetts are concerned that the state plans to vaccinate people over 65 before many essential workers, including K-12 teachers.
The governor pays lip service to getting students back in school, but his decision today is delaying a safe return by weeks, if not months.
And in Chicago, a showdown looms Monday, with the public schools chief insisting in-person classes will resume then for tens of thousands of students, even as many teachers say they simply won't show up. So the hopes and fears over school reopening seem to hang, as does so much else, on the availability of vaccines. Job number one for President Biden. In Santa Monica, California, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
Right after this short break, we are headed to Florida to meet some canines who are keeping people safe during the pandemic. These good boys and good girls have been trained to sniff out the coronavirus, and you'll learn just how they were trained when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back to your News at 9. Our four-legged friends are helping us in the fight against COVID-19 by sniffing out the virus. Fox News' Phil Keating has the details from Miami.
Cute, cuddly, and super well trained, these dogs are special. Call them COVID canines. The Miami Heat is the first NBA team to utilize these sensitive sniffers who can detect if a person is COVID positive. It turns out there is a molecular difference in smell from someone's sweat.
When a dog signals on a person, it's a really simple process. They simply sit down next to them, which gestures to the handler that, hey, you should check this person out. We then remove that person from the line and their entire group, and we send them on their way and give them a full refund.
All clear.
For the Heat, the dogs are another layer of public safety and confidence, along with mask wearing and spectators spaced far apart. And for the first time in 10 months, 1,500 fans watched and cheered inside the arena. Zip! And as schools move to get back to full in-person learning, Florida International University is also using coronavirus-trained canines. Theirs are trained with contaminated masks, so they smell the molecular difference in a person's breath if they're COVID positive. These dogs sniff around classrooms, desks, and auditoriums, alerting when a major disinfectant job is needed.
There you go, good girl.
This is another way that our four-legged friends want to please us. And they're so good at it because of their ability to smell different odors and distinguish different odors, and at very minute levels, that it's another tool in the toolbox to try to help stop the spread of this virus.
At the game last night, the Heat says it was super safe as the dogs outside the arena keyed on no one as being positive as they all went inside to watch the game. And the Heat's telephone is ringing off the hook, getting a lot of interest from other NBA teams, cruise lines, casinos, airlines, and Major League Soccer. In downtown Miami, Phil Keating, Fox News.
Thousands of seniors are getting their COVID-19 vaccinations this weekend in Colorado. UC Health, a nonprofit healthcare system headquartered in Aurora, Colorado, is running the drive-through vaccination clinic at Coors Field. The plans call for 5,000 inoculations to be given both today and tomorrow. UC Health patients who are over the age of 70 were put into a pool to be randomly selected for the event. The vaccination site is more than 1.5 miles long with 10 lanes so people can wait in their cars. Still to come, a hospital fire in the country of Chile causes the evacuation of hundreds of patients. And some of them were coronavirus victims who were hooked up to ventilators. We have got that story and more headed your way right after this short break. Today, a fire broke out at the stadium in Brazil that hosted the World Cup games in 2014. It caused damage and left some people suffering from smoke inhalation. There was no immediate word on the number of people who needed medical assistance or the extent of the damage. Fire officials say a short circuit in the broadcast area started the fire at Castelao Arena. A fire also broke out at a hospital in Chile today. 350 patients were forced to flee the San Borjas Hospital in Santiago. According to health authorities, the patients, including those on ventilators due to COVID-19, were taken to other hospitals. So far, there have been no reports of any injuries. Local officials say the fire possibly started due to an electrical short circuit in the boiler room. A massive fire broke out at a recycling plant in New Jersey. Firefighters battled the flames at Atlantic Coast Fibers plant in Passaic today. The fire started around midnight when flames shot into the dark sky. More than 24 fire departments joined forces to fight the blaze, with firefighters using the Passaic River as a water source. Fire officials say it could take days to fully extinguish the flames. The fire's cause is currently under investigation. All right, well, stick around. We've got a lot more news and headed your way, as well as a weather update with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Jacob Leonard. That's all headed your way right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And still to come, the rough run continues for Toys R Us, with the famous toy seller closing its last 2 brick-and-mortar stores here in the U.S. Plus, you'll learn how the country of China is making an attempt to go green. We've got that story and a whole lot more headed your way in just 2 short minutes. Welcome back to your News at 9. The coronavirus pandemic is causing the cancellation of 2 popular music festivals again. The Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival and the Stagecoach Country Music Festival will not be held this year due to the ongoing pandemic. Riverside County, California's public health officer signed an order on Friday canceling both events, which were planned for April. Concerns over Los Angeles' 1 million COVID-19 cases and new variant virus strains caused the shutdowns. This is the 2nd year in a row the popular California music festivals have been canceled. 2020's Coachella was ultimately called off this past June after initial plans to reschedule for the fall fell through. Toys R Us is closing down its remaining 2 retail stores in the U.S. The retail toy store, which became iconic for its mass selection of toys, shuttered its 2 remaining locations at Garden State Plaza in Paramus, New Jersey, and the Galleria in Houston, Texas. The company cited online shopping and the coronavirus pandemic as reasons for the closure. Toys R Us says it wants to shift its resources to opening new locations with better customer traffic. The company still operates its website, which sends customers to Amazon to complete a purchase. China is amping up its efforts to go green. The China National Nuclear Corporation announced they have created their first nuclear plant power unit using a 3rd-generation nuclear reactor to create electricity. Commercial operations start today. Each unit of the reactor has a capacity of more than 1.16 million kilowatts, meaning it can supply electricity to 1 million people in moderately developed countries. The reactor is located in the country's southeastern Fujian province and has a 60-year lifespan. Commercial use of the nuclear reactor will help reduce carbon emissions, allowing China to possibly reach carbon neutral status by 2060. At least 12 people are dead and another 11 have been injured after a major crash in Russia. A tractor trailer and a bus collided in the Samara region about 450 miles southeast of Moscow on Friday. Police believe the tractor trailer skidded on the road, forcing it to veer into oncoming traffic. The condition of the truck driver is unknown at this time. A full investigation into the crash is ongoing. All right, we'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather.